You don't have to raise your vibration. You just have to come home to yourself, because your true self, your true nature, is naturally at a high vibration. You see? So the misconception is, oh, I have to raise my vibration because I'm at this low vibration. And the more I try to raise my vibration, the more I try to apply these different spiritual techniques and methods, then I'll rise up and I'll be at this higher level. It's not about that. It really isn't. Because that mindset can get you into this approach of having to strive and earn and perform and achieve in order to like climb some spiritual ladder to experience enlightenment. But it's not that. It's the opposite. It's letting go. It's detachment from all of the things that try to pull us down and keep us in these lower frequencies. But as soon as we let go of the things that are doing this to us, as soon as we start to live from non-attachment and we transcend the clinging of the mind, that is when, again, naturally, we just start to rise without trying to rise, because that's where we're at. And they did I forgot who it was that was talking about this recently. I heard that the emotion that is connected to the highest vibrational frequency is not love. They thought it was love for a long time, love or like enlightenment, but it's actually authenticity. So you being you, your authentic self, is the highest vibrational frequency possible. See? Why? Because like I just said, that is the real you. Your true nature is naturally at a high frequency. So the question is, okay, well, what if I don't feel that way? What if I'm not experiencing that high vibe living according to my true nature? Well, this is why it has to start, this whole journey of vibration and just like the whole spiritual awakening thing has to start with you discovering for yourself who you really are, which that process, that journey, starts with you recognizing what you are not. So again, following the pattern, the sequence of letting go, but you start with what you are not. Nete, nete, as they say. That's Sanskrit for not this, not that. And there's literally a practice of meditation that you do with that, where you go through all these different things that you are not. So you start with your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, and the way you're determining whether you are something or you are not something is if you can observe it, if you're aware of it. See? So you go through all these different things. I am not my thoughts. I'm aware of my thoughts. I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts. I am not the stories I've been told about myself. I'm aware of that. I can witness it. I can talk about it. I am not my emotions. I am not how I'm feeling. I am not what so-and-so said about me. I am not my body. I am not my past. I am not all these different things you go through. And you realize that, okay, all these things that I thought that I was fundamentally, which for most people it's with the body-mind, they identify solely with their human form, and that's like what they think they are, totally. But you start with that, and what you discover is when you go through this divine process of nete nete, you end up with this spaciousness. And this is where it can become devastating, because in letting go of who you think you are, you've been drawn to, or you've been attached to this construct, this egoic construct, and you've been believing that this is all that you are. And so when you lose that after being attached to it and after believing in that for so many years, it can be a devastating thing. And that's why they talk about, the dark night of the soul, or this season of suffering that's around awakening. And this is where it gets real. And this is where you experience for yourself your true nature as awareness, infinite awareness, and it's very experiential. It's not something that is necessarily, it's definitely not intellectual, but it's not something that it's not something you grasp with the mind. So you can kind of talk about it, but all your words are just pointing to the experience that is ineffable of knowing thyself. So when you experience this infinite awareness that is the truth of your being, that's just witnessing, that just is, it's pure consciousness. When you taste that directly, then in experiencing that, in having that self-realization, you are experiencing your inherent liberation, which is, that in and of itself is what leads to the truth, the reality of your high vibrational frequency as a divine being. So the infinite awareness, which you can call that whatever you want, source, God, the divine, the ultimate, Brahman, doesn't matter. The infinite is having this human experience. It's dreaming of being a separate self, a human, but in your incarnation, in your human incarnation, you are the infinite awareness, Brahman, Atman. You are the divine that's having this dream of being a human. So that's why there's that saying, you are a spiritual or divine being having a temporary human experience. And when you're having the temporary human experience, the whole point of the experience is to be fully human, not to be super spiritual. So when the awareness is appearing to be localized and there's this essence, this unique expression of infinite awareness of God, that is your soul, we could say, that is what is experiencing this appearance of localization of the awareness in this human form, in this body-mind. But the misconception that a lot of people have is that this soul, that's this localization or the appearance of infinite awareness localized, the misconception is that the soul is like within the body, this thing, this entity, this spirit that's within the body somewhere. But that's not quite what it is. It's actually the other way around. Your body, your mind, everything you can experience as that infinite awareness is within you. It's within awareness. That's why, and I made a video on this, talked about this, when, that saying, that verse in Luke, in the Bible, in Luke 17:21, where it says, the kingdom of God is within you. The emphasis in that verse, in that saying, is not on the kingdom of God. It's on you. The question is, what are you? Are you your body? No, but that's how most people interpret that verse. They read it and they think, oh, the kingdom of God is like something within my body. It's like this soul or this spirit thing or this whatever that's like within my body. And again, that's not really what it's saying. Because the bigger question in interpreting that verse is, what are you? Well, if you are infinite awareness fundamentally beyond the body, beyond the mind, beyond space, beyond time, beyond the ego, then with that, and by the way, kingdom of God, what is the kingdom of God? Well, God is infinite, right? So God's kingdom is the universe or the manifestation of creation, whatever you want to call it. What it's saying there, actually, this is very mystical, it's very profound, is that the entire universe is within you, awareness, you see? And that there is no separation. There is no separation. You are not some kind of separate entity wandering through time and space, wandering through this universe. No, the universe is within you, and many of the other mystics and sages have said this. and have maybe they use different words and different metaphors and myths to point to this, but they're all pointing to this universal truth of mentalism, the first principle in Hermeticism. All is mind, all is consciousness. And it's arising, it's happening from within you, the true self, not the false self. The false self, the egoic self, is who you think you are. It's this sense of being a separate ego, this separate identity. Again, it's a mental construct that we are programmed with, and we believe, and we live this human experience according to that construct. But the amazing thing is that you can transcend the construct. You can transcend the conditioning and the programming. And you include that, you include the ego, you include the idea of being a separate self as you're evolving, as you're transcending, but you're not solely identifying with your ego now. That's the difference. So now, through the higher self, through the true self, through the ultimate truth of who you are, source, the divine, now you're living through your human incarnation. Now you're living through your ego, which is that unique expression of the one, that fractal of the one, but you're including it, and now you're integrating it, and you're seeing that it's just a unique wave of the entire ocean. But there is no separation. You are a unique expression of the one, of the whole, but that doesn't mean there's any separation. See? The waves aren't separate from one another. They are all one. They are all interconnected by the ocean that they fundamentally are. Rumi said, "You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop." That's what it is. So, okay, I know I just kind of went on a deep dive into self-realization, self-inquiry, but the reason I had to say this is because it's so important. This is where we have to start on the awakening journey before we can start to understand how energy and vibration and frequency and all of that works in our human experience, and the quality of the experience and all the different things that come with the journey. So that's important. When you know this from direct experience, you know that you are pure, infinite consciousness beyond the body, beyond the mind, and you start to live from that reality, you start to live from that truth, that is when, naturally, you are living from that higher vibrational frequency. You're living from your true divine nature, and you're not trying to, because out of your beingness, you're starting with the truth of who you are, out of your beingness, all of this other stuff just naturally flows because you're grounded in source, you're grounded in awareness, you're grounded in I amness. And from that comes all of these elevated emotions like love and peace and joy and authenticity, and these things that enable you to live in harmony with the life, with the world around you. See? So that's what starts to take place. That's what starts to unfold as you start to walk this journey through self-realization, from knowing the truth of your being. And all you did was you returned home. You didn't try to add something to yourself. No, you transcended the programming, the limitations, the narratives that you were living according to that were keeping you in this illusion of separateness. And you were thinking, oh, I'm broken, or there's something wrong with me, or I need to attain some kind of spiritual status in order to experience this, that, or the other. And the whole time, the truth has been within you. The kingdom of God has been within you. And the secret, the focus has always been you asking that question, who am I? Who am I? That's where it's been all along. And now that you're going down that path of self-inquiry and you're discovering what you are, now you know that there's nothing you could possibly add or attain or achieve in order to fill in the blank. That becomes nonsense. That becomes the old story. So that's my encouragement. Yeah, instead of focusing on all these different things that people are talking about on the internet, all these different, techniques and do this and do that, start with self-discovery, start with self-realization, and see where that leads to, because chances are when you actually focus on that and that becomes your priority, everything else will start to unfold and it will start to align with your true nature, and that frequency will be able to really expand and it will shine because you are the light of the world. That light has been hidden from the different programmings and from the different stories that, again, we just buy into and we believe growing up. But that light has never not been there. It's always been within us. It's always been the truth of who we are. And now we're just removing the veil. We're transcending the different blockages. And we're experiencing what we want to experience in that high vibe living, which is rooted and grounded in wholeness and oneness. That is enlightenment. Enlightenment is not something you attain, it's something that you are. It's something that you fundamentally are. So, yeah, that's something. It took me a while to understand this, and it had to come through direct experience, but once it happened, I was like, yeah, there's no going back to anything else I was trying to do in order to be. Because now, out of my being, yes, of course, there's doing, there's action that's in alignment with my being, but it's not forced. It's effortless. There's a flow, there's a rhythm, there's a harmony, there's a peace, there's a river that I'm flowing with. And that's the Tao. That's the Wu Wei. And you just roll with that. So, I think that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.